All right, you grasshoppers, we are back. Yes, that familiar face. We were together, what, 3 or 4 months ago we did a show, didn't we?
Yes, it was amazing.
All right, buddy. So this is Johanna, and I'm going to brutalize your last name.
Godinez.
Godinez. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of your company again that you have?
Life and Style Coaches.
Right. And lifestyle coaches, you do, you're talking to people about their life, coaching them through, but you're also the physical component to that too, right? You train people as well?
Correct. So at Life and Style Coaches, what we do is we figure out where a person needs alignment in their life, whether it be their personal life, their business, their physical appearance, their health, their mental state. So we figure out what the person needs so that we can figure out what tools and what persons to connect them with so that they can do really whatever they want in their lives. So we really are just a network of people, and we connect people.
So it isn't just you then. Your company is your company, or is there other people involved in yours?
It's my company, but there's other people involved. So once you go through our life mapping program and we determine whether you need a financial advisor to help you figure out how to get into retirement, whether you want to start a new business, there's people that can assist you who have done 7, 8, 9 startups, $1 million startups. So it really depends on what the person needs. And then we connect them to whoever is going to help them make whatever they want to create in their life.
That's pretty cool. So were you doing that when we spoke months ago? Or is that something that you've added to the financial services?
It's just different components are added as people need them. So sometimes someone will come to me with something that I've never thought about. Like I had a woman whose husband passed away and she hated coming into the house where she found him. Right. So we sent her on the dream of her life trip, her bucket list trip. It was a 6-week cruise all over the Mediterranean. And while she was there, we raided her house and we tore some walls down, we refurnished, and she walked into a new space when she got there. And that completely changed her life. So I had to figure out where am I going to hire a construction company, and it makes our job really fun.
Yeah. So obviously the more you do things, the more of a network you've now built up. So, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So how are people finding you then? So this woman, for example, were you training her some way?
Life and Style Coaches is my website. You can find me through there or through Instagram, but she actually found me because she needed someone to talk to about how she was feeling with her husband. Like, I'm always going online and telling people to call me, and I give my phone number out freely. It's 815-501-5070. You can call me if you've ever wanted to just hash out an idea, or if you just need someone to talk to figure out how to move forward with something in your life. Like that's what I do.
That's fantastic.
So
excellent. Great.
Yeah. So we found a way to kind of help her in the most outside of the box way that you could have imagined. Right. And she's
So, and how did you get going? I mean, you've obviously taught yourself to be this positive person, being able to solve problems for other people and like that. I mean, you weren't always that way, were you?
I've always been pretty resourceful. That's been one of my secret weapons my whole life. I can always find a way to make it happen. And if I don't know how, I have a big mouth and I have no hesitancy asking. So I will call people who most people wouldn't even think of picking up the phone or figuring out how to get in touch with them. People who are successful are more accessible than you think they are. And they really like to share their story.
They really do. They actually view it. I found they view it as a kind of a sign of respect, right? Because you're calling them.
Absolutely.
You've accomplished something, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a conversation the other day with a gentleman. I was trying to figure out how to spread my message in a bigger way. Right. And this man gave me an hour and a half of his time. And at the end, jokingly, he said, the bill is $2 million. And I said, excuse me? He's like, well, that's how much it cost me to get that lesson that I just taught to you in an hour and a half. And I was so grateful because you wouldn't even think that someone like that would pick up the phone and talk to you, much less give you an hour and a half and $2 million worth of their knowledge.
I'm sure part of it is too that there's probably so many people that have helped him in the past too that he got the full circle kind of thing, right? He's given back as well, so that's fantastic. But you're right though, and I learned that lesson. I think we talked this before. So when I retired from playing in the National Hockey League, it's kind of like this unwritten rule where you didn't want to brag about who you were or whatever. And I got into this. I was doing a lot of raising money for deals and everything. People would come to me from Calgary, Alberta, looking for $100 million for an oil deal, and they knew I knew a lot of people. And all these other business guys were saying to me, Tom, when you call somebody up, tell them that you played for the Rangers, for God's sakes. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. But then it's funny. I finally got used to the idea of doing it, and I had a quiet day. And I Googled money and hockey. I ended up getting like 20 names of guys who were like hedge fund managers and everything that had played college hockey, whatever. And I won't use the guy's name, but I called up this one guy, just cold call, got a secretary. And I told the secretary that I played for the New York Rangers. Well, she drops the phone right away and runs to get her boss. And I'm thinking, usually, you go through this month-long process of calling back and calling back. He gets on the phone. He used some choice language, but he says, there's no way this is Tom Laidlaw. Tom Laidlaw would never call me. And I'm like, this guy's managing a $5 billion fund, and he's ready for Tom Laidlaw. He invites me down to his office the next day, and his office is like a hockey hall of fame, right? So it was a lesson to me, just like you're saying, that yes, people want you to respect them, but they love taking these calls, to talk to you. So it isn't somebody just trying to sell something to them. They're given a chance to get back. So I agree with you totally.
Yeah. Part of what allows me to stay so positive is the fact that I see the world and I see other people as people who I need to collaborate with, who are my community. And I don't put judgments on who I allow in. They're gonna have to prove whether they belong in there or not. That's really how I look at things, and it makes it so that you open up the door to talking to people and getting to know people that sometimes through your judgments you wouldn't even think of, and then all of a sudden it's one of the most amazing people that you've ever connected with. So
right, that is it's tough sometimes too, but that's one of the great things. Whether I know it's tough right now, we're not flying and traveling, but when you're out doing things, you're traveling, or you're standing waiting in line to get to a restaurant, just having a conversation with some random person may never lead to anything, but it could also lead to a friendship or a business contact that's valuable, right? So just treating people just like a human being, right? I think sometimes we get
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, humanity is getting to the point where humans need to really realize that we are all here to help each other. We're all here to learn how to live together, to support our home, which is the planet Earth. It's not your house. Your house is just crap that you're putting on planet Earth.
Yeah.
But we need to figure out how to live with it and supporting it and in combination with it. And I think the things like this happen and we start to realize that this is what we're here for, to communicate, to contact each other, and to create community. And this is really giving us an amazing opportunity to do that.
Right. And this being obviously this coronavirus and the quarantine and all this stuff. So that's really why you and I said, listen, let's get on and do a little podcast and kind of share our perspective with people. And I think you and I feel the same way with a lot of things, that like that whole connection between your mind and your body, right? And now everybody's sitting at home and they're saying, oh, this is terrible. And the first thing for me is, and I'm going to get up my soapbox a little bit here, so bear with me, but I just think that, we've had men and women that go off and fight in the military to protect our country for hundreds of years, and they sacrifice their lives, the years of their life, if they come back at all, and they're sleeping in the dirt, they're dodging bullets and everything. We're saying to ourselves, we're going to fight, we're at war too with this virus. But all we're asking you to do is stay home, right? We're not asking you to go fight some war someplace. We're asking you to stay home. And while you are staying home, what you and I want to talk about today is, okay, so how do I make the best use of the time? How do I not get dragged into this, oh, poor me mentality? Instead, how do we get that attitude? This is an opportunity for me. How can I get the most out of this opportunity, really? What are your thoughts?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there are so many things that we have the opportunity right now to incorporate into our lives. We have all basically been giving a gift of resetting. And I know that when you have a lot of worry and uncertainty, as all humans, your mind goes into worry. But here's the deal. Whether you worry or you don't worry, the issue is going to remain the same. So what is the difference? How you react to the situation and what you do with your mind with the situation. But most people don't have something that they're doing. Therefore, that's where their mind will instinctively go. What needs to happen is this. What have you ever truly needed or wanted in your life that you really feel will make you a better human being and evolve your condition in life? Whether that's including a hobby, starting a new project, writing a book and sharing your experiences or some type of knowledge that you feel others can benefit from, whether that's getting up and eating healthier and working out in the morning. Right now, you have the ability to make that choice,
Right.
but it's a choice. And I got a hate mail the other day. I posted something that
Somebody sent you hate mail?
I got hate mail.
What
I
was it?
couldn't believe it. I posted I'm a yogi, all right? I'm all about supporting and accepting people how they are. But I posted something that said, if you don't come out of this situation learning something, doing a new business, or having a new skill, you didn't lack time, you lacked dedication.
Ooh.
Right? And I had someone say, this is just trashing people and judging people. And I was like, listen, if you're a mother of 4 and all of a sudden you had to learn how to be your kids' teachers, you learned a new skill and you're doing something new. I'm not downplaying what it is that you're doing. But right now, everyone got asked to get creative and outside the box. And if you just sat down and watched TV, that was a choice.
Right.
And if you don't like hearing that someone else is doing something, then why did your mind go there? So I got excited. I was like, this is why I do the things that I do.
Yeah, you got a reaction,
to make you think.
All right.
Absolutely. Your reactions happen for a reason.
Right.
And if you just let them happen, then you're not in control of them.
All right. So let's say we've got a couple, maybe they've got kids that are, 5 or 6 years old, and now they're in their house together. It's going on 3 weeks where they've been quarantined, and they're sitting there feeling sorry for themselves that, we're going through the same routine every day. The kids are sitting around playing video games all the time. Every day at 5 o'clock, I'm grabbing that bottle of wine. Right? There's a fantastic video I saw. A guy was walking around his neighborhood, and it was on the garbage day, so all the recycling bins around, and he went out and videoed all the recycling bins. They were all packed with booze bottles. It was a fantastic video. It's hilarious. All right, but this couple is sitting in the house, they're feeling sorry for themselves. Oh, poor me. And they need some kind of a kickstart to say the things that you're talking about doing. So, like, what gets them going? Like, how do they flip that switch so that they become that motivated person?
So they're going to have to first figure out what it is that they want to motivate themselves for, right? So what is it that I want to do? What is my goal?
Right.
And once you find your ultimate goal, you're going to work backwards and design the steps that you could realistically implement in your life to get it. So it's going to take a little bit of reflection. If you feel like your life is so busy and you're never alone, get up at 3 a.m. one day and do it. It's not going to kill you to get up earlier one day to sit down and reflect for a few hours on what you'd like to do in your life. So once you figure out the steps, then you say, okay, how can I incorporate step 1? Because the bigger picture is way out here, but there's going to be steps that are going to help you get there. So if you break it down into smaller steps, then you can have timelines for those steps in how you're going to incorporate them, and then be able to come up with revisions of situations arise in your life.
Right.
So it's really important to kind of take one thing at a time. Right. So once you create that step 1, what can I change? So if it's I'm going crazy with the kids, I can't even come up with something. So make breakfast and dinner family. Right. A thing. Make stuff that the family can do together. Make waffles, and you can put different things on the waffles, and everyone can have different fruits and make it fun. Yep. Make dinner something that the kids can do together. Make pita pizzas and have everyone make their own pizzas. Include game night. Right. One day is board night. One day is Scrabble night. One day, there are always things that you can do. Right. And if you can't figure it out by yourself, figure out who could I call that would get really creative with me, or maybe who is going through the same situation, and then we could come up with something together that our families can not only do now, but maybe incorporate for when this is over, to unite and come together as a family more often. Right.
It's amazing when you talk about that one step at a time. I had a Navy SEAL on several months ago, and I
don't hear you.
You don't hear me anymore?
No.
We lost you there for a second. Don't hear me? I think we lost our connection. You know what, guys? We're going to reboot this. We're going to come right back with Johanna. Okay? We'll be right back. How's that? Back?
I lost you.
Yeah, we're gonna regroup. We'll try it again.
Do you want
All right, we're going to try to get Johanna back on there. So what it is that probably that guy that sent her hate mail is coming after her. So we'll get her back on here in a second. But real valuable while we're waiting for Johanna. So basically, what we've been talking about, guys, is how to deal with the issues that we're all dealing with right now, being in quarantine and stuck at home and feeling sorry for ourselves in some cases. Not everybody is. Some people take advantage of it, but Johanna and I are feeling the same way, that it's really important to kind of use this as an opportunity. So we'll see if we got her back there. We're back now?
There we go. Hi, sorry about that.
There we go. All right. So, excellent. I surmised that that guy that sent you hate mail was watching us and somehow hacked into our server here and got radio.
I think so.
Yeah.
I was really excited because that's the first time I've ever gotten any hate mail. So I was just excited. I'm like, that means I'm hitting some buttons.
There you go. What I was saying too was, it's amazing when you talk about that like, do that first step. Like, don't look like you said, you got to work backwards. You've got a goal that you want to accomplish. You want to lose weight. You want to be a better parent. You want to read more, write a book, whatever it is. But I had this Navy SEAL on it, and he was amazing. He went through, it was in Afghanistan, and he was leading a group of men, and they ran out of ammunition and had to drop these bombs in really close. It was he ended up winning a Silver Star for the whole thing. But he talked about how when the bombs came in and he flew him backwards, he's now like laying in the dirt there. And his first thought is, he said, I just can't keep going. Like, he was really so down about everything, to feel like his life was, he was going to lose his life. And he found the strength to get up and get back in the fight again. And obviously he's often doing well, and he's a very motivating guy and everything. But I said to him, well, is there some like big moment, like there's this some courageous thing? It's almost like a movie that the music is playing in. And it's amazing how he said it's the same thing for him there. It was all he thought about was that he had a mission to do. He had a next chore that he had to do. So there's a bad guy in front of him. He couldn't worry about the 20 bad men behind him. He had to worry about that first bad guy in front of him, right? So it was that one step at a time mentality. And I think that's kind of, people I think sometimes get the impression that, when great things are done, you've got like great athletes or, great actors or actresses or businessmen, they think that there's this one moment that it just clicks, they're born with this and they're destined to become these great people. But there's that process, right? There's that step-by-step process to get where you want to get to. So I love that.
Yeah, I think social media does a big disservice to this, because you see these amazing things that people are accomplishing but you don't see them losing night sleeps in the background. You don't see them not being able to spend time with their families and not showering for 2 days because they haven't been able to fall asleep or stop writing or whatever the case may be. The way that these people train for 4 hours in order to be able to remain healthy during the off season, like, you don't see any of that. You just see them coming back and being this amazing star. Well, they obviously had to do something to keep themselves that way. So it's easy to see the end result and say, oh, well, that person got lucky or whatever the case may be. But many times we fail to think, how long was that person even thinking or working on this?
Right. I agree. And I think so much of this too, people think, well, I don't have that lucky gene. I hear people say the lucky mentality. And I've been very fortunate. You have too as well, but I've been fortunate to be around some fantastic athletes. but they're just regular guys. They're not,
Yes.
they put their pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. And I, maybe obviously with a basketball player, you need to be tall like a LeBron James. Okay, that's an example. But for most people that are successful, they are just the same as everybody else. They have just learned that the biggest battle is showing up every day and doing your work, right? It's like, for me, I get more motivated now because I get up at 3:30. I go on the march at 4:00. I'm strict with my diet, and I feel like I get better every day. I'll be 62 in a week here, and I feel like I get better. I know, yeah, getting up there. But I feel like I'm getting better every day because I'm more disciplined. I push myself farther. And the more I push myself, the more I realize I can do, right? So it's that I think sometimes people just don't realize that they've got the capability to do whatever they want to do if they really put their mind to it, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the biggest fight that we fight is not our situation, it's ourselves, and whether or not we take life by the reins or let life happen to us. Yeah. So a lot of times opportunities are disguised as failures, and a failure only becomes a failure when we decide not to try again. Right. That's it. Because if something didn't work out, you decided that was it, that it just couldn't be done. But that just means that you didn't actively find a different way, and it's hard because it's easier to say, well, look at what happened to me, and I didn't have anything to do with this, and there's just nothing I can do about it. It's harder for you to say, no, my choices and my decisions unfortunately led to the situation, and either I'm going to become a victim of it or I'm going to find a way to thrive and survive,
Yeah. Hold on. We got a great question, I think, coming up here from one of our followers. I want to get this up on the screen. So Manny Ferreira, healthcare workers and first responders will need a lot of time to decompress when this is over. Great point. That's excellent.
Absolutely. And one way that they can do this will be by taking some time to just sit down, right. Focus on their breath, and let all of the emotions, all of them, just flow through them. Get them out. Let it go. Whatever it is that you're feeling, because I know that a lot of these people have been put in situations that they never could have imagined. And while we're all at home, they are being soldiers, and they were not trained to be soldiers.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt. I apologize. I'm going to interrupt you. So you're saying that a first responder, a nurse, let's say, that's risked her life, worked long hours, now somewhere down the road, it's all going to at least slow down anyways and somewhat get back to normal. She should sit down and just let it go, cry, whatever she has to do to get it all out of her.
Cry, scream, write down all the injustice or all that you felt, or if you had to make a hard decision, don't let that stay with you. Let it go. We hold a lot of trauma in our bodies, and sometimes it's not even ours to hold. So it's important that they take the time to just reflect on everything that's happened. If they saw a lot of lives lost, like grieve, feel, let it go, let it feel the energy go through you. And I know that can sound a little woo-woo to some people, but
I know. I
can't tell you how important that is.
And I'm not doubting you in any way, but I want to clarify, because you made a good point there. There's going to be people sitting there watching this. They're going to go, yeah, right. That's great. So I'm the old farm boy from Canada, right? The tough guy that thinks you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to talk about your feelings, all that kind of stuff. I've almost been trained through all of this stuff that I've been through. It's like you lock your feelings up in a box, right?
No.
I know. It's not right, but
it causes trauma in your body. It's been proven that your body needs to deal with things. So it's going to deal with it by you reflecting, accepting, and letting go, or it's going to deal with it by getting stored and causing stress and cortisol and a consistent fight or flight motion. I mean, these things have been scientifically proven. Right. I'm just giving you the solution. Not.
I'm not doubting you. I guess I'm just, I hear you and I believe you totally. And I've heard it before. I think it's totally correct. It's just that I know there's going to be a lot of people that are sitting there saying, no, I'm going to lock in the box. I'm let my feelings out. They're going to stay there kind of mentality. And you really want to stress that, no, that's the worst thing you could do. It's okay to let it go. And I think the other thing is with men, not just men, but I think even more so with men, there's that feeling that you're not supposed to show your feelings. You're weak when you show your feelings.
Then don't lock yourself in a damn closet and do it in a closet behind the scenes. Nobody needs to see you go through this. It's just a healing exercise that you can do for yourself, because this is something unprecedented, and some people are having to deal with it by having to learn how to sit with themselves for long hours, and others are having to deal with it by not sleeping for 90 hours straight and being on the battlefield. So each person is going to need their own way to deal with it. At home, if you wanted to incorporate meditation and reflect deeper, maybe you find something that you can take some action on in this time that you have. But for these people that haven't been able to stop, and that in fact have been thrown into the fire, literally, these people can use coming out and releasing all of that. Just like, yeah.
No, I hear you totally. Yeah. So it's a good point though. So we're talking about the first responders and how hard it is for them right now, and how it's going to continue to be hard for them even after this thing slows down. But even the people that are at home, a lot of different things. They've lost their job. They've got rent to pay. What is there? What's going to happen with this? So there's a lot of people under a lot of stress. There's stress of worrying about their health, their family's health, the financial issues. So there's all this stress building up, and they're stuck there at home. So even for those people, you think it's good to, if they need to go sit in a room and lock themselves in there and scream or yell or whatever they want to do, they should go ahead and do that.
Yes. Or you can also take a pad and write things down. Write everything down that is worrying you, right? So as you're sitting and you're reflecting, all of those things and all of those anxieties that are coming up in your mind, one of the things that you can do is just take a chance to just write them down. Then when you're done writing all of your anxiety down, figure out, what can I do about each of them? So you mentioned rent and things that you have to pay. So I have student loans. I was able to push back my student loans. There's one of my credit cards that's allowing me to not have interest, but I've had to make these phone calls and I've had to make things happen. So again, it is what I have that's making me anxious, and how can I take action? And the things that you cannot take action on, because worrying it is not going to change.
But easier said than done, though, right? I mean, there's some people's minds that they can't stop, especially at night, right? They wake up in the middle of the night or have a dream or whatever, or something bad, and the worry just is there.
Correct. Yeah. But if you're sitting down and you're writing all of the things and you're figuring out what you can control, what you start doing is focusing your thoughts, right? So all of a sudden, all the thoughts weren't from worry to how many banks do I have to call? How many credit cards do I have to call? How many deals can I make to lower my rent or to not pay for a couple of months? How can I look at my budget and see what I can change about my budget in this time to make different? So as your mind is focused on that, it's not focused on worry, right? Because your thoughts are only on one thing at a time.
Right. And I think a good example is too, like with the rent, because everybody's thinking, oh God, I'm going to get evicted or whatever. I think in most states, they pass laws that they can't evict you for 90 days. And even, I would think even at that point, the landlords are going to be saying, okay, well, that's great. I'm going to evict this person, but where am I going to find somebody else now to take the apartment too, right? So like think through that process, that maybe you're not in as bad a situation as you think you are, because this is the whole country is going through it, right? It's not just your situation. So it's
I mean, my father is a landlord, and my father went to the banks. He figured out what help he could get, and he wrote a letter to everyone that is renting from him, and he let them know what his situation was, and they all came up with a solution as to what to do. So when one building, the payments got pushed back altogether. So what he's going to do is have people pay a $250 amount that will cover all of his expenses for HOA and other things that he can't pass up for that month. In another building, he was able to cut it down by half, and then the other half again will get put at the end of the loan. So he cut those people's rent by half. So depending on what break the bank gave them, he went ahead and wrote letters specifically to the tenants in that building, and he is passing on 100% of what he is receiving from the bank to his tenants. So it's also a time for people to come together and think outside the box.
Totally.
We are given this beautiful, amazing tool that's called a brain. And all of those amazing ideas that get sparked up that you're like, oh my God, this could change the world. It most likely could if
Right.
you just take action on it.
That is a good point, right? So instead of sitting there worrying about it, do something about it. Like if you're sitting there,
course.
oh God, what's the landlord going to do? Well, pick up the phone and call the landlord. And in all likelihood, it's not the first phone call he's going to get. In this
Yes.
situation, right? He's probably got
Correct.
several calls.
Yeah, because knowing the laws, knowing the breaks that you're being given,
Right.
educating yourself also removes some worry.
Totally.
Because some of these things you're just worrying because you're coming up with all these crazy scenarios in your mind. But if there's already in your state a law that says that you're not going to get kicked out, listen, if my dad were to kick out half of his tenants
Right.
because they can't pay him, then he would have
Yeah.
half of his units empty
Yeah.
for a month.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Right.
People will work with you. You just need to open your mouth and ask.
I agree.
Ask for the help.
And the only other thing too, the whole worry thing, and I don't mean to, I don't want to be these anti-politician kind of guys, politicians are politicians, but we do need to be careful. I know we have to get on the news and know what's going on, if they close parks or schools open up. I know we need to get that stuff. But for me, it's like, don't sit in front of that TV and continually listen to the loop of bad news. Some of it, listen, it's this is for real. People are dying from this. People are getting sick, all this different kinds of stuff. But like sometimes I think the politicians will get on, and that's their job. And I hate to say this, so it's almost like they're going to take advantage of any situation, and they want to show that they're leaders, and they want to make all these speeches. And it's almost like, don't watch it. You get the numbers you need to get the facts you need to get, and then turn the TV off. I think it's just that it's so negative, I think, right now.
Oh my gosh, yes. And the bombardment of it is just insane because it's every channel. Listen, I haven't watched the news for 4 days. Why? Because I'm at my house and I haven't left my house other than to take my dog out for a quick walk out in the parking lot. So when I go out, I look and I see what are the new restrictions. So for example, right now, if I were to walk my dog out in the harbor, I need to have my face covered or I'm going to get a fine. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping up to date with what new restrictions are being put on us. However, watching the same thing that I watched yesterday and how many people died, that's not going to affect me. If 1,000 more people died, I can't do anything about that. And sitting here for an hour and being upset and freaking out about it isn't going to serve me as a person. So instead, I'm writing a book about my life and about how crazy it has gotten and about how this has changed everything. Because what else do I have time in my
I agree. Like for me, the biggest thing, and I got away from it for maybe the first week, but to stay on my routine too, like getting up at 3:30, I make my bed perfectly, go on the march at 4. And instead I used to be going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, I realized I bought those bands that hook on the door and I've got my balance board and everything. And I know you've got stuff at home too. But I found myself, well, I'll go down there at 6 o'clock or 6:30. No, I realized I was getting lazy. Like, no, get down there at 5 o'clock. If you're normally at the gym, stay on your routine, right? I just think it's one of those things, and it's totally understandable in my mind that people fall into these little traps.
Yeah. And I'll give you like really quick, because the thing is, like, people think that adding working out to your life has to be something crazy. Okay. So I'll give you what I do. And I don't do that much. Okay. So I wake up in the morning and I do 500 crunches before I get out of bed. I literally open my eyes and crunch. I put my feet on the ground and I do push-ups. Push up. I get up, I brush my teeth, I feed the pets, and then I live on a 16th floor. So you go all the way downstairs, come all the way back upstairs. By the time my dog's done, then I go take him out for a walk. But I just did like 15 minutes of physical activity, and I did not have to do anything different in my day. Now, my yoga time and everything else, that's my official workout, but I am moving. So if something gets in my way, I'm still feeling good. I went up and down. I got my heart rate up. I got a few things in. So it's just even taking, if you're sitting in front of a computer working all day, even taking 3 minutes to get up and do 1 minute of squats, 1 minute of push-ups, 1 minute plank, get back into work.
Right. But it's, and you're right. It's just, but people have to understand too, you got to start someplace, right? So don't feel like you have to be where Johan is or where I am in our fitness it's irrelevant where we're at. It's your
No.
body, Matt. Your body, your mind.
Yes.
You have to start off with doing 5 push-ups or 5 sit-ups or whatever first. Do that. Don't worry about what somebody else is doing, or don't feel like, well, what's the point? I'm so far out of shape. Well, no, it's one step at a time. It's like we talked before about the Marine. You know,
Yeah.
he's fighting for his life. It's one step at a time. He's not going to
Yeah.
destroy all the enemy around him. He has to.
Hey, 2 years ago, I got hurt and I couldn't lift my right arm. This is as far as it goes now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, and I didn't work out for like 6 months. So when and it wasn't until they were like, I don't really think we can help you, that I was like, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? They're like, you can dislocate your shoulder. I was like, I'll feel that before it comes. And I started working out again, but I had to build myself up from training to be on American Ninja Warrior to 3-pound weights up and down.
You won American Ninja Warrior?
I was training for it when this happened. Yeah.
Oh, so you made
oh my God. I had this. I was in North Carolina. They have the most amazing training facility down there. And I had a really cool trainer that would make me carry really heavy weights with my fingertips and would make me jump on the monkey bar with both of my hands and do this. I mean, it was amazing. They had the running wall, and it was,
cool.
It was great.
So you were selected for the show and everything?
No, I was training for it. I was training to go try out. And like 3 months before I would have gone on this happened.
It's funny to say, because when I was going to go on Survivor, I was training more my mind at that point. So my whole life, being an athlete and everything, it was, I was going to say, I know I didn't understand the connection between my mind and my body as much. So I was always like, training to be stronger, bench press, ride the bike and all those kinds of stuff. And when I started training for Survivor, I had a great trainer around here too. I really didn't know that well. And then I started talking to him about stuff. And he would, I don't know if we talked about this or not, but he'd train me he'd have me memorize a poem or some saying from a movie, like a Rocky movie or something, some speech. So I would memorize the poem or the speech and be able to recite it perfectly. He would then have me either ride a bike, or he'd have somebody try to aggravate me, something to elevate my heart rate or get me, my body going revved up a little bit. And then he would have me try to recite the poem again. And it was amazing how I could not recite the poem. The same poem I just recited 5 minutes before that, now that my heart rate was elevated, I couldn't recite it. And it was even at 60 years old, I didn't realize that was happening to me, in my mind and my body. And so just the fact that he pointed that out to me, and then we had to now train. So, Tom, how do you control that? Like for me, it was stopping and taking deep breaths and everything, after it was done. And it was
correct. When we trigger fight and flight, we go into a more primitive state.
Right.
Because that state is meant for us when we feel like we're in danger, right? Like you need to go run or fight or whatever it is that you need to, So when that state is triggered, it's like when a gazelle is eating grass and it sees a lion. Like that's the same thing that it triggers. The gazelle is no longer thinking about eating or finding anything. It's just reacting to the fact that the lion's coming. Right. So we as humans lose our ability to really take the opportunity to react and look over and find the right answer. We're just reacting, just like the gazelle is. So, yeah.
So the key is there too, and this is something I've really learned. I know, Johanna, you know this and believe in this too, is so much of the time we talk about training our bodies, and we really believe how important it is to train your mind and how not easy it is, but it's just as easy to train your mind as it is to train your body, right? Like that kind of stuff. And that was a good example for me where I never would have thought of that before. Like to learn, first of all, how is my body reacting? How is my mind reacting to what my body is doing? And then how I can control that. Like that was an excellent learning experience for me that I never, through all the times I played, thousands of hockey games, and I never realized that was happening to me. It's one of those things I wish I could go back again and be in certain situations while I was playing where maybe I lost control. I wasn't thinking properly or whatever. If I just had to learn to slow myself down, take the deep breaths, realizing what was happening to your mind and your body. It was a fantastic experience. And we can all learn it at any time in life, in any different situation. It doesn't have to be a sporting event. It could be you're at home with your kids right now. They're running around. They're getting you frustrated. You snap at your kids and yell at them. We really don't have to, right? You can control all that
exactly.
stuff. Okay, so,
yeah, they say I used to race cars, so I've always been very passionate about racing and a really amazing driver, Ayrton Senna, they say that his heart rate would not go up more than 5 or 6 beats
Really?
per minute,
Wow.
even when he was going 200 miles an hour. And that's why he was able to drive as smoothly and as he would glide through the racetrack. And that is why, like, there is no longer what makes him so good. No, that made him that good. It was the fact that he could always figure out how to not hit a car or how to change what line he was driving, because his focus was completely on what he was doing, not in reacting to the things as they were happening on the racetrack.
Right. So, all right, guys, everybody's listening here. You understand? So when we talk about training yourself, there's that physical training you can do while you're at home. It's a great opportunity to get yourself in better shape. You don't need a whole lot. You can do push-ups and sit-ups. I bought, I think, $60, bought those bands that hang off the wall or hang off the door. I can get a fantastic workout with it. But while you're training your body, you can also train your mind, right? Because there's a lot of, in fact, this is a great time to do that in my mind, because there is so much stress on your mind, right? If you're sitting there
Correct.
and you're, again, stressing out because the kids are running around, or you're sitting there with your boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, you're driving each other nuts because you're in the same room together all the time. It's a great opportunity to stop and say, no, I'm not going to let this happen. I'm going to take this opportunity to slow down. Whatever you find your way, what you have to do to control the way your mind is reacting to the situation, right? It's so
I'll even give you a tip on how you can do that while you work out.
Yeah.
So in one of the things that makes yoga so amazing in creating that mind-body connection is that while you practice yoga, part of what you do is you take your low belly, you lift it up, and you pull up the bottom of your pelvic floor.
Yeah.
While you do that, you engage your low abs. Technically, every single exercise that you do, you should have that engagement that yoga teaches you to have.
Right.
While you're working out, if you just focus on breathing in and out through the nose during your workout, so like inhaling on the way down and exhaling on the way up, always exhaling when you're exerting the force, and you focus your mind's eye, internal eye, into holding in the bottom of your pelvic floor, you can use your workout to learn to meditate.
Totally.
So you can connect both of them. Even if it's not yoga, you can still use those principles that yoga teaches, even in a regular workout.
Yeah, I love that. I think we talked about, I've really gotten into using the balance board. So it's the same kind of principle, really, because when you get on the balance board, the way to balance yourself on the board is to just pretend somebody's going to punch you in the stomach. So it's the same concept we're talking about. It's like you're tightening everything up, right? And then when you do, so let's say I want to do back of my shoulders, and I'm going to do face pulls, and I've got my bands on the board. I find now that I've learned to concentrate so much more on my core to make sure I'm tight and staying on the board, but also like to kind of get my mind right into my muscle that I'm working too. Like it's like, you get the back of the shoulder, and I've trained myself now to really like feel that exact muscle that I'm training along my core. It's amazing. I love what you said there. That's fantastic. I think it's,
and that's the best way to work out, because that's a lot of times how we avoid hurting ourselves. If your mind is on dancing around and and then you're moving up and down, you're not being mindful of the movements that you're making with your body.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, if you're really engaging, then you can also slow down the motion, which slower motion, as you know, will engage deeper the fiber. So you actually even get a better workout because you're focusing more on what you're doing. So it's a win-win no matter what.
I'm smiling more because I'm laughing at myself. Because if I had this conversation with you 2 years ago, it just wouldn't have been possible to have the conversation. I was the old West Side barbell. I'm going to deadlift 500 pounds. I'm going to bench 375, all that kinds of stuff. I didn't like get my mind in my muscle. Are you kidding me? I'm pounding iron here, So yeah, I find myself so like, any old back issues I had or anything, since I've got on the balance board and worked on my core more, done that kind of stuff, no issues with my backs whatsoever. It's
correct. Because balancing causes the muscles to fire appropriately. Part of what people don't understand, when you're just lifting weights and you're not doing anything else, it's not functional, because it's not teaching those muscles to act with other muscles in a way that's naturally in motion. I mean, most of the time when I do a bicep curl in life, I'm getting something out of the back seat and I'm bringing it in and I'm bringing it up and I'm putting it on the front seat. But I don't do bicep curls from back here like this. So I'm not teaching my rhomboid and my serratus to work while I'm doing that movement with my shoulder. So when you're doing things on a balance board where your core is needing to fire, if you lose your balance in real life, that is how your body's going to react.
Totally.
So it's actually also a functional exercise because it helps you in everyday life.
Yeah, definitely agree. All right, guys. So Johanna, one more time, tell us the name of your company and the phone number and how everybody can reach you.
Life and Style Coaches, and it's 815-501-5070. Listen, if you are thinking about how can I fix my schedule, how can I get this project going, anything that you want to run through, any idea that you want to run back and forth. One of the main things that I do, I'm registered as a Mastermind Alliance provider. So I host people who are usually upper level CEOs and managers that come together to help each other hash out ideas in their business.
Right.
But I can do the same thing one-on-one with someone. You can only come up with as many ideas as your brain has the capability of coming up with based on the patterns and the things that you've learned and the way that your life has experienced things. When you share your thoughts with somebody else, you are willing to open up your mind to other people's ideas, which will spark more ideas in your own mind and maybe be the door that you need to completely change your life. But it takes making that first move and taking that first step, even if it's making a phone call and be like, man, I've always wanted to do this. I have no idea how in the world I'm going to start.
Cool. All right, guys. So the big theme from today, and I think we covered a lot of stuff and fantastic stuff too. Great job by you, Johanna, is that, listen, we're going through a tough time. This is not fun for anybody, but it doesn't have to be a wasted time. It's an opportunity to do something else in your life. It could be a physical thing, a mental thing, writing a book, all the different things we talked about. We know it's tough for the parents. You're stuck in the house with your children and everything. But again, it's an opportunity, and you've got to get started someplace. Sit down and go and lock yourself in a room if you have to and scream and yell, or write a book, write notes down, whatever it is. You have to change that cycle that you're going through right now that's pushing you back. For all the first responders, like Johanna put it, fantastic. We're all there for you. We admire what you're doing. It's really important too with this now while you're going through it, but even after it's done, don't be afraid to go sit in that room and let your emotions out and everything. I will do my best as the old hard-ass farm boy to try to display my emotions. But
hey, there's nothing better than releasing regret, than releasing and forgiving people and forgiving yourself for all the stupid stuff that you've done. There's nothing better. And just starting a new slate with yourself.
Are you saying that I've done stupid stuff, Johanna? I've never done stupid stuff. What are you talking about? I'm perfect. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh gosh, then bless you, because I know I've done my fair share.
I'm the only one on the planet. That's right. The only perfect. Well, listen, great to have you on. We'll do it again. I think this is an important time to get out there and help other people along. So great job by you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thanks for having me, Tom.
See you guys.